Hi, my name is Pat, and this is my channel, Book Chat with Pat, and I'm glad that you're here. Today is Poetry Thursday, and because we are about to leave summer and begin the season of autumn, I thought I would devote this episode to some of the poetry of autumn. I'm going to read a couple of poems that are very old. These are classics that I used to love to teach. And then I'm going to also read a number of contemporary poems as well. The first poem that I'm going to read is Sonnet 73 by William Shakespeare, in which the speaker speaks to his love about the fact that he feels that he is in the autumn of his own life. Sonnet 73. That time of year thou mayest in me behold, when yellow leaves, or none, or few, do hang upon those boughs which shake against the cold. Bare ruined choirs, where late the sweet birds sang. In me thou seest the twilight of such day, as after sunset fadeth in the west, which by and by black night doth take away, death's second self, that seals up all in rest. In me thou seest the glowing of such fire, that on the ashes of his youth doth lie, as the deathbed whereon it must expire, consumed with that which it was nourished by. This thou perceivest, which makes thy love more strong, to love that well which thou must leave ere long. Next, I'm going to read one of John Keats, the Romantic poet, one of his most beautiful odes. This is his ode to autumn. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit the vines that round the thatch eaves run. To bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel, to set budding more and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has overbrimmed their clammy cells. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor, thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next swath and all its twined flowers. And sometimes like a gleaner thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press with patient look thou watchest the last oozings, hours by hours. Where are the songs of spring? Ay, where are they? Think not of them. Thou hast thy music too, with barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn among the river sallows borne aloft, or sinking as the light wind lives or dies, and full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. Hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft the redbreast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. Now one from the 20th century. This is End of Summer by Stanley Kunitz. An agitation of the air a perturbation of the light, admonished me the unloved year would turn on its hinge that night. I stood in the disenchanted field amid the stubble and the stones, amazed, while a small worm lisped to me the song of my marrow bones. Blue poured into summer blue. A hawk broke from its cloudless tower. The roof of the silo blazed, and I knew that part of my life was over. Already the iron door of the north clangs open. Birds, leaves, snows order their populations forth, and a cruel wind blows. A very contemporary poem by Maggie Smith entitled First Fall depicts a parent talking to a young child. First Fall by Maggie Smith. I'm your guide here. In the evening, dark, morning streets, I point and name. Look, the sycamores, their mottled, paint-by-number bark. Look, the leaves rusting and crisping at the edges. I walk through Schiller Park with you on my chest. Stars smolder well into daylight. Look, the pond, the ducks, the dogs paddling after their prized sticks. Fall is when the only things you know, because I've named them, begin to end. Soon I'll have another season to offer you. Frost soft on the window, and a porthole side there, ice sleeving the bare gray branches. The first time you see something die, you won't know it might come back. I'm desperate for you to love the world because I brought you here. And, I couldn't do a seasonal episode without some poetry from Mary Oliver, who writes about all of the seasons in their own time. The first poem from Mary Oliver that I would like to read is entitled, Just as the Calendar Began to Say Summer. Just as the calendar began to say summer, I went out of the schoolhouse fast and through the gardens and to the woods and spent all summer forgetting what I'd been taught, 2 times 2 and diligence and so forth, how to be modest and useful and how to succeed and so forth, machines and oil and plastic and money and so forth. By fall, I had healed somewhat, but was summoned back to the chalky rooms and the desks to sit and remember the way the river kept rolling its pebbles, the way the wild wrens sang, though they hadn't a penny in the bank, the way the flowers were dressed in nothing but light. Also by Mary Oliver, Goldenrod, Late Fall. This morning, the goldenrod are all wearing their golden shirts, fresh from heaven's soft wash in the chill night. So it must be a celebration. And here comes the wind, so many swinging wings. Has he been invited, or is he the intruder? Invited whisper the golden pebbles of the weeds as they begin to fall over the ground. Well, you would think the little murmurs of the broken blossoms would have said otherwise, but no. So I sit down among them to think about it while all around me the crumbling goes on. The weeds let down their seedy faces cheerfully, which is the part I like best. And certainly it is as good as a book for learning from. You would think they were just going for a small sleep. You would think they couldn't wait. It was going to be that snug and even as all their lives were, full of excitation. You would think it was a voyage just beginning and no darkness anywhere, but tinged with all necessary instruction and light. And all were shriven, as all the round world is. And so it wasn't anything but easy to fall, to whisper, good night. Song for Autumn. In the deep fall, don't you imagine the leaves think how comfortable it will be to touch the earth instead of the nothingness of air and the endless freshets of wind? And don't you think the trees themselves, especially those with mossy, warm caves, begin to think of the birds that will come, 6 a dozen, to sleep inside their bodies? And don't you hear the goldenrod whispering goodbye, the everlasting being crowned with the first tuffets of snow? The pond vanishes, and the white field over which the fox runs so quickly brings out its blue shadows, and the wind pumps its bellows, and at evening especially, the piled firewood shifts a little, longing to be on its way. And finally, when I am among the trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness, I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me the trees stir in their leaves and call out, "Stay a while." The light flows from their branches, and they call again. It's simple, they say, and you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. As always, I thank you for watching. I hope that you're doing well. I'll speak with you again soon. Take care.